Is Mara stock bullish right now? Is it giving us signs of bullishness, or is there a sign that it has topped in the short term and we can expect lower prices soon? So, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about not just the short term price, but we're going to go over the bigger structure, the big picture, so we can get a better understanding of what Mara is attempting to do, most probable, and how Bitcoin can influence Mara. Now, we all know that there is still some negotiations in the works with the Ukraine and Russia war, and that does have an effect on the market. So you got to wait for more information on that, and that can give us a better understanding what we can be expecting in the future. But not just that, we have a Federal Reserve interest rate meeting coming up soon enough, and we also have to factor in if there's any volume early on, just in anticipation of that event, and then just a lot of PCE stuff coming out soon as well. So we got to remember that, and we got to remember that no matter what we hear in the news, um, the price is going to do what it's going to do, and that doesn't matter what's going on in the bigger picture. So we just got to focus on structures. But right now, if you guys weren't aware, Mara, uh, this was posted 17 hours ago on Coin Telegraph. Mara's Bitcoin mining revenue hits record $752 million as BTC price soars. Now, I haven't done a Mara update video in a while, but if you guys remember, uh, back even earlier this year, I kept saying, we're pretty discounted. We need a better idea of what the financials look like with Mara. So, waiting on more revenue data will be great. And of course, we all know that as Bitcoin trades in higher prices, Mara is going to do their thing. They're going to operate. They're going to do their mining at higher prices, and that's going to give them a lot of great results. But we also know, before I get into the chart, that Mara is one of you know the biggest really Bitcoin mining there is around the world. But not just that, they're, in my opinion, they manage their financials very well. They basically have no debts. They are leveraging, by issuing shares to be able to buy more mining equipment, maintenance everything, and grow. They have a lot of partnerships, and yes, you know, watering down the shareholders isn't great for the stock price. But you got to remember, every 4 year cycle, Bitcoin becomes double as difficult to mine, and it's already very, very expensive and difficult to mine. So them, even if they're liquidating, issuing more shares and watering down the shareholders, well, they're setting up to, for the future to be a lot more better set off and healthy going forward. As the next halving event is going to make it even more extremely difficult to mine Bitcoin profitably and healthy and stay consistent. But let's take a picture, or let's take a view of the bigger picture. You guys know for a while now, I've been tracking this ascending support line that has been holding very, very well. We hit it 3 times. We ended up breaking it when a lot of the tariff news started coming out, and that caused a lot of pressure to the downside. So just that alone, for any of you, in my opinion, taking longer term swing trades, like buying now or accumulating now and holding it, later into the year, around, by the time the year ends, which will be, I think that's when usually the bear or the bull cycle ends. It's going to be sometime after October, if I'm correct. But buying now and holding till then, I think it's a really, really great, swing trade, just because we're below that moving average, or we're below the support line, and eventually we'll have to break out of it. And we'll break out of it pretty strong. But for short-term trading, which is what I really want to talk about, is we know, if you guys been, just taking advantage of the retracement area, you know that every time Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, Mara hits a retracement area, it's a really, really good buying opportunity. So even when we were trading upward before this big fall, as you guys can see, the price came down perfectly into the retracement area. The levels were very great, um, a clear indication to potentially accumulate. And if you guys did, that's great, because you're going to be a lot in the profit right now. And same now, where we came up, hit that ascending line, which I said I haven't done an update video in a while, but I said last time, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit this line and retrace down, just because Bitcoin is still trying to get out of this correction that it's in, and I'm gonna show you guys Bitcoin in a moment as well. So we came down, we used the top of it as support. As right now, so far, we have a lot of bullishness, and the price can reach this blue area. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So we came down. The interesting thing is that we created this very aggressive imbalance gap, and that started at $15 and like roughly 62 cents, and it came down and it found support just at the top 0.35 at $14.62, and it went higher. Now, the reason this is bullish is because it didn't find resistance within the imbalance. It just broke past it. There wasn't enough selling liquidity and enough selling volume to really pull it down. So that shows that there's a lot of strength right now in the short term for Mara stock, right? And then now, instead of us coming down quickly and maybe trying to fill in a smaller picture uh, retracement, which will look something like this, we haven't gone down there yet. We haven't even reached the 0.35 at $15.89. And this is looking very, very bullish. The RSI also, with this big move up in the short term, it never maxed out. That shows that there's a lot of bullish volume currently going on in the background. So this can be a very, a very, aggressive stock moving forward throughout the rest of this week potentially. But let's take a look at potential weaknesses when it comes to comparing it to Bitcoin. So we all know that Bitcoin is currently attempting to form a downtrend. The downtrend being, here's a swing high, we came down, breaking micro supports, we came down into the retracement area. As of right now, we didn't just rally, creating a lower high. The price started consolidating within the retracement area for this whole move down. So trading within this consolidation area, and in the smaller picture, showing that we are in this like higher low and higher high format, but at the same time, this high wasn't very significant. There's a lot of weakness in volume forming, and we got to keep in mind that in the bigger picture for Bitcoin, we can see a proper retracement happen. I talked about this earlier today, watching for a potential of a proper retracement while looking at small signs that we can still profit and attempt to maximize our profit one more time before we go lower. So here's what I'm looking at right now, right? So it's very possible, because with the Bitcoin dip, we haven't actually seen weakness when it comes to breaking below the smaller picture higher low, the first higher low, and we're still not showing aggressive momentum upward. So it's sort of mixed right now. But here's how I'm approaching this, and it's just my opinion, but I believe this is a really great way of approaching this as well. But quite simply, if we just, instead of guessing or just sitting there and hoping, we know that Bitcoin is, and this is going to make sense in Mara in a moment, but Bitcoin is creating a uptrend structure. It is making higher lows and higher highs coming out of this. So it's very possible that we can see Bitcoin come up into this blue area before the bears exhaust themselves, and then we have a proper correction going forward, right? So that we have that potential one more high from here will easily bring us up into the 111 plus K area, where we can find resistance, breaking past, or even just briefly breaking past the all-time high area, as then overshooting. So we have a first wave down, overshooting second wave, and we come down. The reason this is very significant and possible is that we still have a lot of bullish strength. We're not seeing aggressive sell-offs in the short term when it comes to breaking previous support areas or previous swing lows. So we still have the potential going up there, and this is based off of the low of the corrective move down to the top of the first swing high, the first higher high when it comes to comparing it to this one, and then the current the previous dip that happened. So that gives us an opportunity for the price to max out this move with all the volume it has and the momentum to max out up to this area before we come down lower. it's very, very much possible. So the way this makes sense in Mara is that if Bitcoin starts to rocket up to that area, it will allow Mara to begin trading between the 100 and the 1.238 extension. So that's going to be between $17.60, but we'll say $17.50 just because I want it to be a little bit closer to the bigger picture support, which is acting as a resistance currently based on this. So it's between 1750 and 1950, or sorry, 1850. So this is a very, very important area for, you know, Bitcoin to potentially go up and push Mara up into this area right here. The reason I'm not overly optimistic when it comes to Mara maximizing this area is because we know Mara is not Bitcoin. It is, even though Bitcoin highly influences Mara's stock price and the structures, it's not something that is very sustainable for Mara, at least not yet, because we're still in a high interest rate environment. We're still waiting for, you know, Federal Reserve to lower rates. We're still waiting for a lot of the tariff stuff to go away. So there's a lot of backwind when it comes to a actual company. But with that being said, due to the headwinds, and it's not beneficial for Mara, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes up, but stays below $18.70. I wouldn't be surprised. So there's still opportunity to go up there before we come down lower and represent. If Bitcoin, this will be the equivalent. I feel like I'm kind of getting brain fog or something, but it's as simple as Bitcoin finishing a one more high before we come lower based on this smaller higher high and higher low structure. And then that can influence Mara to potentially come up into this area. We can still see some weakness to come into a proper retracement. This will allow the price to hit the 120 moving average and bounce off of it. And then we'll come up and start trading within this area. And then once we're in this area, Bitcoin could potentially be here as well. And then that's when we can see the last, dip down, the last wave down into a proper support area before we can start seeing much, much higher prices form, which then will allow Mara to finally consistently start trading above this ascending support line we have here. So just to summarize everything again, Bitcoin is, in my opinion, on its way down. It's showing signs of bearish momentum, but we still have potential in the short term to come up into this area. Now, I don't think it's super likely, and we will potentially come down lower. We don't have to go in that area, and because the overall picture is down here. So I'm not betting on that, but you guys know I'm still taking small, long positions with tight SLs. So the view is downward with a potential rise up here, but that's not very likely. It's more likely we'll come down lower before we can go much, much higher. The way that influences Mara is that if you guys are just very impatient, I guess, or you just want to take a trade no matter what, there is opportunity for the price to come up and briefly break into the 18s before it comes down lower. But ideally, we would like to show bullish momentum form. So as of right now, Mara is showing a lower low and lower high structure. Here will be the retracement area for the price to come down to attempt to build bullish momentum to break up into the discounted portion of the blue. Now, that will be the proper way of doing it, because if you come down here, in my opinion, and accumulate in this area, you can use this $14.62 area, potentially even just $14.60 as an SL, in case we come down lower and try to fill in the proper retracement area for this whole move that we've been seeing going higher. This will be the retracement area. We had enough momentum to hit it, so that means there's most likely enough momentum for the price to fill this area in a bit more, and that will be represented by Bitcoin finally continuing its move down. So there's still potential of us coming up here, but the thing is, if you do and take a trade and the price begins to rally higher, it will be very, very important to control greed. It will be very important to control hope. It would be best to just lock in profits. If you guys accumulated during this last dip, lock in profits, because at any point Bitcoin can drop to have that final dip before we go on higher for a bigger picture higher low, and then we can easily see Mara aggressively dip down and then start filling in the red area before it can go up higher, which will create a significant higher low structure on the bigger picture as well. So It's just best to stay patient right now. To prove bullish momentum, we gotta wait for a really really good buying opportunity. If you guys are just doing small, super short term trading, why not buy at a proper support level, which will be the 120 moving average mixing with the retracement area. If it comes down to this, it'll be a great opportunity to buy and then try to ride out the higher move higher. But the moment it breaks below the swing low, you can still let your SLs trigger, and you're not you won't be hurt as much, and you will just be out, and then you can conserve capital to buy in at a more proper you know buy area. So I am overall bullish on Mara. I do believe Mara can go much much higher. I've shown this before where I believe it can actually hit over $40. It can potentially go to 45 plus. I really believe that throughout this year. But in the short term, even though the possibility is there to go higher, it'll be better just to wait for significant support areas to show or to present a buying opportunity. So significant support areas. So we won't be buying at bad prices. We can buy at a more reasonable price. But again, in the super short term, let's see if Mara can hold above the 0.618 at $15.30, because this will be a big indication on whether or not we're going to start creating bearish momentum to start trading, below 14.50, potentially even coming all the way down to like $12.50 as well. So, but the moment that does happen, I believe it's a really, really great trade or buying opportunity. If Bitcoin or Mara starts trading within this red area, it'll be a really great idea to accumulate, and then using this previous significant swing low as an SL. But yeah, that's just my opinion on Mara. I do believe Mara has more upside potential, but based on Bitcoin weakness beginning to show, to have that proper retracement, I wouldn't be surprised if just for a little bit of time, Mara comes down into a proper, more discounted area to build bullish momentum before we can go much, much higher. So yeah, this is my opinion, guys. I believe it's very important to be cautious right now because, we got to see if micro supports are going to hold. If you buy now, you're just being hopeful and you're just straight up just guessing. But if we come down, you can buy at a cheaper price. In my opinion, it would just be a much better buying opportunity with a tight SL. It will be a smaller spread in case you get liquidated, you just stopped out of the trade. But it will create an opportunity to buy at a more of a smaller picture micro support area to potentially ride the price higher and reach this ascending resistance line soon enough, right? So that's just my opinion. It's much better to be patient to buy at a proper level. Risk management, position sizing, and understanding that prices like to balance themselves out and create a more stable environment for it to go higher. So let's see what happens. I just hope everyone's being patient and taking proper looks at your guys' setups to see where it's a good buying opportunity, and then knowing where you want to start selling, which will be, the moment the price breaks over $17 or $17.50, it will be a really, really great idea to begin shaving positions, understanding again one last time that not just like in Bitcoin, but Mara likes to have proper corrections soon enough, and it won't just always go up forever. It will go up, but it will have fluctuations, and these fluctuations tend to fill in these retracement areas quite well. So be very patient. If you can't be patient, again, try to trade this support area in the micro picture to see if we can have one more rally higher. But if you are very much patient and you're paying attention to other tickers and not just Mara, just let the price alert you when it's in a more stable retracement area, and then from there we can ride it up much much higher and profit off of that as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.